This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. It was really nice to take a couple days break from the dastardly duo, but I'm back to talk about some things that went on this week that should be discussed and highlighted, like the pantsuit that has been seen around the world. Here is Catherine this week showing up to the British Fashion Council at 180 Studios in central London wearing a Victoria Beckham mustard/olive color pantsuit, perfectly tailored and pressed. So you want to know why Catherine wins in everything that she does? You see, when Catherine supports, she is extremely mindful and respectful to the core. Here Catherine is supporting British fashion by wearing and respecting British designer Victoria Beckham. And when I say respecting Victoria Beckham, Catherine is not just wearing it, but made sure that this suit was tailored and pressed so it is put forward in the best light. It shows that she takes pride in not only the causes that she supports, but also what she's wearing because she knows that she is giving global visibility to a British designer showing her support, which then translates into influence. You see, this is the problem with Meghan. Meghan doesn't understand this concept that if she wants to be an influencer, she has to stand behind things that she truly does genuinely believe in and support. Instead, what Meghan does is always doing something to cause controversy or to keep people talking, just to keep her name in the headlines. Like the photo on the right-hand side with her wearing this black Givenchy dress to the British Fashion Awards. Forget about the padded moon bump under the dress. Here she is showing up to an event that was quite disrespectful by wearing a French fashion house. I get that she was giving an award to the woman who designed that ugly-looking wedding dress because she's British, but she represented Givenchy. You know, this is a classic example of Meghan always doing something that's purposely defiant, just so she can stand out and be talked about. When you look at the difference between the two, on the right-hand side, who would want to buy what Meghan is wearing? That doesn't sell anything. Not only does it look sloppy, but Meghan looks unkempt and dirty, as opposed to Catherine, who looks sleek, crisp, clean. And it goes back to what I said earlier in this video. Catherine respects the clothing that she wears because she knows that she's going to be bringing awareness to it on a global stage. Here, Meghan doesn't respect the clothes that she's wearing because she's allowing it to drag all over the floor. Meghan wore this when she was in New York, and just knowing how dirty the New York sidewalks are with people spitting all over it and dogs peeing and pooping everywhere, it just kind of grosses me out. Now, if I was the designer that lent these clothes to Meghan to wear, I would be embarrassed. You know, if you were a designer, who would you want to be wearing your clothes? And since we have been witnessing Meghan's obsession in copying William and Catherine's life and everything that they do, it's no surprise that after Catherine receives this global praise and is being talked about this week over this olive green pantsuit, that we see Meghan and Harry in the media inserting themselves into the Beckham drama just to stay relevant. So before we get into what Harry and Meghan are doing to insert themselves, let me give you a little background as to what is going on with the Beckhams. You see, Victoria Beckham and Brooklyn Beckham's wife are rumored to not get along. Now, Brooklyn Beckham is Victoria and David's eldest son. So apparently, David Beckham had his 50th birthday party and Brooklyn and his wife didn't show up. This drama is centered on a reported feud between Victoria Beckham and Nicola Peltz, which began before Nicola's wedding in 2022 when Nicola chose a Valentino gown over a Victoria Beckham design. Tensions have been escalating, with Brooklyn and Nicola skipping key family events like the recent one, which was David Beckham's 50th birthday, and also social media snubs. I do believe that Brooklyn, second year in a row, did not wish his mother Happy Mother's Day. Brooklyn has reportedly distanced himself from his parents, feeling they treat him and Nicola unfairly, and apparently now, being reported in the media, have found support with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. Now, for the many who have a functioning brain, you can recognize that this is Meghan up to her old tricks again, trying to stay relevant. As I've said before, I take any and all of these articles now with a grain of salt. None of this stuff can be believed or is truly accurate. Now, I did find this on X, posted by Molly's Mama, in which she writes, allegedly, the dinner at the height of the mainstream media rumor mill was 2 weeks ago. Harry and Megzy did not invite them, meaning Brooklyn Beckham and his wife Nicola. Paramount CEO Brian and Tracy Robbins and allegedly other entertainment execs attended. But I guess invited Brooklyn and Nicole Beckham after cleared by the Sussexes. Though allegedly, Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola said H&M were very warm and friendly, just very nice. The stories about the four bonding over dispute with both the royal family and David and Victoria are questionable. But I wouldn't put it past Megzy to stick it to Victoria and Harry to David for their bonding with the royal family. Megzy held the leak until she could use it best. The day after, Victoria was on the front pages with Catherine wearing her willow jacket trouser design hit. Megzy leaked she had the dinner catered. Megzy bragged in her Netflix series she loves cooking for friends, their dinner parties. She also said during her last episode that she does not like to cook, so she elevates takeouts. Megzy told on herself again. She said what we knew based on her food prep and recipes. Megzy lied during her series. She lies all the time. But she and Harry can't remember what lies, falsehoods they tell to fit their narratives. Then the next stories contradict the prior, which exposes their lies. Pathological liars can't keep track of their lies. The first story is the lie because they're trying to convince for their purpose. But then they slip and reveal the truth when it fits their narrative that puts them in a positive light. Now that Megzy outed herself again as a fraud and Megzy does not like to cook, she is not a lifestyle influencer and does mostly takeout. How can Netflix put out part 2 and push this fraudulent influencer? Now, I do agree that Meghan and Harry are both pathological liars. However, I don't agree that they can't keep track of all their lies. So hear me out on this one. Let's just take a moment and bring back our common sense. Meghan and Harry have a full team of people who manage their PR. It's not like Meghan is calling up each and every news outlet and saying, here, run this story, run that story. She's not doing all of that. She has people who are helping her do that. And you would think that they would have their finger on the pulse and say, well, we need to correct this. This is the story. This is the narrative because, hey, it would make sense. That's what you're hiring these people to do, to manage your image. But if the image is supposed to be confusing as it has been from the very beginning with Meghan and Harry, at some point you have to believe that all of what Meghan does is intentional. When you look back at the last 7 or 8 years, when this witch came onto the scene, it has been nothing but drama after drama after drama after drama, inconsistencies left and right. I mean, there is no straight answer, and everything about this woman's past has been fabricated. That, without a doubt, has been proven. Then you factor in the alleged Markle family, who is also a part of this, based off of all the evidence that's out there and the inconsistencies and lies that the so-called Markles have told. You then start to believe and realize that this is all a game, and none of what is being put out about this couple is real or true. So you have the entertainment industry working with Harry and Meghan, not because they're talented, but because this is propaganda that Harry and Meghan have been pushing out. Let's be real, folks. The CIA controls Hollywood. And in this case, what we have seen, all evidence points to this being disinformation campaigns as well as psychological manipulation. The Markles are very much a part of it. Let's go ahead and talk about what they've been putting out. All of a sudden now we get these photos of Thomas Markle Sr. out in the so-called Philippines, taken by Carl Larson, given to Backgrid. Why now is this coming out? Is it because people have been questioning the whereabouts of Thomas Markle Sr. and their lies catching up with him? I think so. More people are talking about it and putting two and two together, saying, we've been hoodwinked by this family, allegedly. And after people started to call out that Carl Larson is the one who took these photos, you had Thomas Markle Jr. as well as Samantha now go on this press tour about how Carl Larson has been stalking them and Meghan has set her father up again by sending Carl Larson to the Philippines. None of the story jives with what each of them are saying, especially how would Meghan know where to send Carl Larson if she is behind this? She doesn't talk to her father. If we are to believe the narrative that Meghan and her dad haven't spoken since she got married 7 years ago, how would Meghan have known where to send Carl Larson? Then you have Samantha Markle chiming in about the photos that Carl Larson took and someone photoshopping a female next to her alleged father, which is a complete lie because if you run the photos through these analysis tools, it says that the photos are authentic. So do you see how they get caught in their own lies? Let me give you another example. There's a reason why Samantha Markle won't restock her book, despite it being sold out, even though claiming that Meghan's defamatory actions with the Sussex Squad have hurt her book sales. Make that make sense. On page 65 of the Diary of Princess Pushy's Sister, Samantha writes Meghan Flower to dock at her house on August 31st, 1981. My baby sister was biracial, beautiful, and was both the color of a peach and a rose. Now, on the surface, if you got this book back in 2021 and you read it, you might have said, well, this looks like a proofreading error. Or if you weren't in the camp that believed Samantha, would have said that, well, Samantha is not that close to her sister because here she is not even giving the right date of when Meghan was born, which we're all told to believe was August 4th, 1981. Now, here's a great example of where Samantha Markle can fit in plausible deniability because she didn't actually say the word Meghan was born on August 31st, 1981. She could say, well, Meghan came to our house. Maybe Meghan showed up at her mom's house first and then, she was transferred over on August 31st. I mean, we know that that's not the case. We know that this is all a bullshit story, but still, nevertheless, the date was not on accident. This was not a proofreading mistake. This was put in here deliberately because when you look at the various dates that are tied to Meghan Markle, they all have purpose, and this is no exception. August 31st just so happens to be the day that Diana tragically passed away? No, I don't think that that's a coincidence, especially after all the other examples of Meghan trying to associate herself as the Diana reincarnate. And I find it really interesting that Samantha chose to say that Meghan's skin color was like the color of a peach and a rose. And what do we see Meghan put out there as Catherine has been named or has a rose named after her? We see Meghan with peach roses. Now, I went ahead and put this up on X. No, I do not believe that Archie was born on May 6th, but this is the story that we are made to believe. Why did Meghan choose the date May 6th? Well, one possibility it could be because the Civil Rights Act was signed into law by Eisenhower. And then when we look at little Betty's birth date that was planned, Congress passed the 19th Amendment guaranteeing women the right to vote. So, of course, you have these two very important dates in American history. And what did Meghan do when she got to the UK and campaign on? Both race and equity. Many argue that these dates are tied to important dates in British history. I would argue, if you're in the camp like me, believing that these folks are tied to the U.S. government, then this would make more sense, especially if the Markles and Meghan all have been together from the very beginning and still are in collusion with one another on this psyops. These dates were picked, especially if this is tied to the U.S. government, were picked to represent important critical dates in U.S. history that the Demon Rats have been so proud to be behind, as well as supporting the narrative and agenda that was being pushed to drive socialism under the disguise of democracy. Now, as many know and coming to understand and realize that the CIA has been for decades trying to push this New World Order onto America. And we're supposed to believe that another coincidence of Thomas Markle Jr. and Sr. choosing out of all places in Southeast Asia to go to and move to, they choose to go to Cebu in the Philippines. How coincidental that the Philippines is a substantial hub for the CIA, which one of their specialties is conducting psychological warfare and influence operations. Oh, something like what we've all gone through with this bitch Meghan Markle. At this point, anything that's being said, the more that these people talk, the more that they expose themselves. And the fact that right after I had posted about what Samantha Markle had put in her book, as well as calling out the fact that the photos that Carl Larson took were not Photoshopped, we get a reaction. And I did it on purpose to prove two things. One, that they have been watching me, and two, they would go ahead and attack me, which they did. But ask me if I fucking care. Excuse my language. I just know that I'm on the right path here, and I will continue to keep doing the work as I have been encouraged to do, based off of other important people that have been watching. I think what many people are failing to see here is that they are playing a game with us. And I think once you understand the psychological manipulation and this disarm framework that I have presented to every one of you, you start to see this saga in a very different light. And it explains a lot of what has gone on that just didn't make any kind of sense. Now, I've said this so many times over that once you see it, you can't unsee it, especially when there are certain tactics that are being carried out in this information warfare. Now, you don't have to believe anything that I have to say. This is what I believe based off of all the information over the course of 8 years that has been presented to the public, in me coming to what I believe is what is really going on here. You don't have to believe that. But what I do ask you to do is believe yourself in this recent PR stunt that we've seen by the alleged Markle family. Do you honestly feel that what the Markles are telling you versus what you're seeing with your own eyes is the truth? I am pretty sure many of you, if not all, instinctually feel something is not right and things are not adding up. You don't need the media to tell you what to believe. And I think we've become too reliant on people telling you what you should think versus trusting yourself and not be afraid to challenge it and voice it. I think we all need to get into a place where we just don't care what people comment back with, because 9 times out of 10, the nasty comments are the comments that are coming from automated bots. They're not even real people. So when you understand that, those comments can't hurt you. You can't take it personal, especially if it's not even coming from real people. Anyhow, that's just how I see things and the perspective that I have. But what do you guys think? How are you feeling about at least this recent PR stunt that the Markles had pulled off and the so-called bashing Carl Larson tour that they have been going on after the fact it had been exposed that Carl Larson took those photos? You know, the damage control on that one was so obvious, like, I don't know what else to say. But definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
Such a fraud.